I can.
I was about to volunteer, but you got in there before me.
Well, you can do it if you want.
No, I'm not desperate to do it. I'm just aware we need to do it.
Okay. So then, who wants to chair? And as a note, like for a lot of meetings, I'm probably not going to be chairing and stuff this year because I have a lot of shit to do this
year.
I can share. Let me find the agenda on my phone.
Cool. Thanks, John.
I need to find out how to do these things, and then once I do, I'll be on it.
Well, chairing just involves like going through the agenda of the meeting and just kind of making sure things move along.
Right. Well, I think while I find it, the first thing on the agenda was Michelle.
Right. Yep. What was it about?
Lead roles.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay. Can you just give me like 1 minute to get all my documents up on my screen? This is a newish laptop and I can't find anything. If you just give me a minute, I'll get everything up and then I'll be able to talk without stopping for 2 seconds.
Quiet.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just doing a few bits and pieces. Where's the other thing? Right, okay, I think that's better. Okay, right, leads. The only thing to say on leads is I've spoken to Nathan today, who's agreed to take on build and strike lead, possibly co-leading again with Xavier.
Everyone celebrates.
Yeah. So that's good news. Unfortunately, he can't make the meeting tonight, but he knows about the next couple, so hopefully he'll be along to one of them in the next couple of months to chat with us about that. That was about all on that. As DJ will know, we met yesterday. Is that somebody there? We met yesterday to talk about comms, so I'm going to, for the moment anyway, take over the comms messaging lead and start working on that. So we've got that filled, and I'm going to try and recruit a few assistants to help with specific areas such as the website. So that's sort of in hand. And then the last one is, it looks very likely that we have 2 kitchen leads, but I want to talk a lot more about kitchen. You may or may not want to go into that just now, I don't know. But Ella and Felix are very keen, subject to further discussions and making sure that we're all on the same page, which I think we will be. So I don't know if you want to go into kitchen now or we'll hold it back for later.
No, let's discuss it now.
Okay, right, hold on. I've got some notes on this to talk to. Goodness, right, hold on a second. There we go. Right, so the notes I've got say Ella and Felix are keen to run the kitchen. Their plan would be to provide 2 meals a day. Their sort of budget off the top of Ella's head, she was thinking about $250 per meal, which kind of pretty much tallies with what was spent last year. So that sounds reasonable. That could change, but that's just an idea to make sure we're all on the same page. We discussed a bit, I had a long discussion with her yesterday. We discussed whether she would be interested in a sort of opt-in system rather than everybody who attends automatically being opted into the kitchen. Hilda, I don't know if you all know Hilda, but she volunteered recently that if need be, to administer the sort of administration of that, of who's in, who's out, and how that works. Because Ella wasn't too keen on the actual, trying to figure out who's got a wristband and who hasn't. She kind of didn't want the responsibility for that. But Hilda stepped forward and said that if needed, she was happy to do the admin for that. So my inclination is that it should be an opt-in system for various reasons. It means we can, not everybody, if somebody doesn't want to pay for food, they don't want to have to pay for food and they can do their own thing. It means when they opt in, we can at that point gather dietary requirements. Hopefully anybody who's got really fussy dietary requirements, they may decide not to opt in and make their own arrangements, which might suit everybody better. We'd have to think, we'd need to talk further about how tickets would work for that, especially transferring tickets, but we can get into the details of that later. Ella's keen to have all her plans. She seems to really know what she's talking about. She's asking all the right questions and things I haven't thought about. She would like to have everything planned, she says, before summer, and I would equally like to have everything. We wouldn't have to do anything, but we'd like to have it all planned out before tickets go on sale, so we know exactly what we're offering or not. I mentioned food for build, and yes, she's aware of this, and yes, she's got plans for how that might work, so she would factor that in as well. She did bring up the issue of people, sorry, I feel like I'm waffling a lot, so I will stop in a minute. She mentioned the issue of people who haven't opted in using kitchen facilities, and we both feel that if you don't opt in, then you have to bring your own facilities. You can't use the shared ones because it just causes all sorts of problems. So if that was agreed, we'd have to make sure everybody was aware of that. She wants to move away from moving supermarkets as much as possible. She works in the industry, so I think she has ideas and contacts of other ways of sourcing food and maybe better ways of doing it. It would be, the other thing she said, it would be her plan at the end of the whole process this year to end up with what she calls a sort of kitchen Bible, so that whoever does the role next year, thinking ahead to that already, would have mostly recipes and instructions and things that would make, if somebody coming fresh to the role, might help them do that and make things a bit easier next time round. The other thing that she's saying is she reckons from her experiences last year that we need some new equipment, and she's aware that we bought lots last year, but there are some things that she feels we would need and some things she would like if her and Felix were to run the kitchen this year. Some of it seems quite, not too expensive and very reasonable. Sort of pans, cutting boards, possibly knives, because they've been providing their own. And then there's things that are kind of on the wish list, such as possibly hiring an upright cooker and other things. But I think she's aware that, we're on a budget. But she'd like to talk about that, and I've asked her to go away and come back with some sort of costings of what she has in mind. And she's away on holiday at the moment, but hopefully she'll do that in the next week or so, I'm hoping. So that is my entire update.
Excellent.
Hoping I didn't miss anything there in the minutes.
I've actually got, sorry, I realised I rattled through that, but I've got all those notes already, so I can slot them into the minutes once we've done here.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Okay. So moving on.
Does anybody have any comments on that before we?
My big comment would be the opt-in system. I think that really needs to be planned, and there's a lot of reasons that can go wrong and is really difficult. But if it's planned well, then that's fine. But I think that would need an entire meeting in itself to discuss.
We talked about it last year and it got discounted for some reason. I'm actually in favour of it, and it worked well at Nest before, so I don't see why we can't do it. But I can't remember the exact reasons why it was taken off the table last year.
Is it still vegetarian?
Yeah, I think it's quite doable. I've already had a bit of a think about it today, but how best to go about it to keep it as simple as possible. But I think it's doable, and it's kind of outside of actual kitchen. It's out. Ella has said she doesn't want responsibility for that side of things, which I totally understand because she's offering to take on a huge thing. But I think we can work around it. I think we can figure out the best way to do that.
Yeah, we just need. I mean, somebody needs to tell her how many people she's cooking for at the end of the day, and then yeah, she then does that bit. That's fair enough. I understand. She doesn't want to be involved with that.
And because Hilda's offered to be involved with the organisation of numbers and things, I know if she does take that on, we can trust her to do that incredibly efficiently.
Yeah, I'd like to have Hilda involved in the discussion if she's got a plan for it and everything, because I think the main issue there is ticketing and managing who will have access to the food and who will have access to the kitchen and stuff like that. Because if we're then going to have someone limiting access all the time to the kitchen, that's a whole other bag of.
But I don't think that's
last year we had last. Sorry, Michelle. Go on.
No, I'm agreeing
with you. I
don't think it's any different.
Last year we had people didn't have general access to the kitchen, apart from like maybe occasionally late at night. But like, it was pretty much only kitchen people in the kitchen.
But that was also because there wasn't anyone who had brought their own food to cook in the kitchen, right? So.
Yeah, there were plenty of people who brought bacon and cooked it, so people were bringing their own stuff, and they, I think it's totally manageable.
Yeah, I mean, if it is, then I'm just saying that I think it needs to be planned well, and I mean, I trust Hilda to plan it well.
I guess
I also remember it's not that many people, so it's not as if. Anyway, sorry, John. I think we're digressing.
With regards to the kitchen, no, we're just. With people using it that maybe shouldn't be in there, I guess it's just one of the extra things perhaps that will fall to Leeds and Rangers in particular to keep an eye on. I mean, it's quite difficult to enforce, but we just got to be quite firm and say, look, we're awful sorry, but this is for the kitchen and the crew only. To provide this service to the people who've opted in, and we have to keep it a certain way to make sure we can provide that service, so we can't have like random people coming in and out. But best we can do, really, we'll just have to try and manage it, see how it goes.
Yeah, I think we just need to be upfront when we sell tickets.
Yeah,
what you get if you opt in and what you get or don't get when you opt out.
Yeah. And we'll have to kind of discuss also if people have opted in and then decided not to come, like how that works, and like when there's a cutoff for that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely there would be a cutoff that would give them plenty of time to plan food, and also I think a major thing is we need to decide whether whether we sell 2 tiers of tickets, opt in and opt out, or whether we sell general tickets and then we sell food tickets, because it'll make a difference. It's when people sell their tickets on, it could potentially get complicated. So we might just have to think through that and come out with the least worst solution to it. But it'll also depend on the ticketing system that you decide to go for, DJ.
Yes. And actually, I'm just going to add that to the agenda now.
But otherwise, in principle, we're happy to talk further with Ella and get her costs to see what she has in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds like they might have slightly ambitious ideas for food. I did point out that we need to keep to, sensible budgets, which I'm sure they're doing. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah, we don't want to be too ambitious, do we? Let's be honest, it didn't go according to plan last year. We don't want another not going according to plan episode this year. So, okay, so should we move on? We talked last week about the potential legal structure. Now, I know we're having a meeting about this in a couple of weeks, so I'm not actually going to talk much about it. But what I have done, I've put together a document that I've put in the MicroBurn shared folder, which is MicroBurn, a legal entity ? So what I would like, the people who are interested in this and who are going to be involved in the meeting, if they could read through that before we have the meeting, because there's quite a lot of information. There's quite a lot to think about. So rather than us have a meeting and we explain all my findings and then go away while people think about it, it's best if everybody kind of reads through what I've discovered and, before we have the meeting, and then we can discuss which way we're going to go with it. So that was all I want to say about that. So in the third folder, there's MicroBurn legal entity. That kind of outlines what I've been looking into and I'm not going to say which way I think we should go, but
okay, right. Well, yeah.
Have a
Thank you
look
for
at
putting the time and effort into writing that. I will. My plan was to make sure, because I think one or two other people did documents last year that then we didn't really make a decision on.
I think
So I'm going
Anna
to.
put stuff together last year.
Yeah, I think Anna did, and I think Duncan did. So I'm going to make sure that everybody's got all the links, a week before the meeting.
Yeah.
So that we can all have read up on it before
they're in the administration folder on the MicroBurn shed folder.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
That might be a good place to put yours as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I was interested in, so we'll move on from that. The first aiders or a medic for hire. Now, first aiders, luckily we didn't really have anything go on that I'm aware of, so we didn't need to put that into use. But
did we find out about the ambulance?
Well, we've not got to the bottom of that, have we?
Oh, okay.
No.
We're still waiting for...
That's really weird that none of us know about
No.
what happened, because it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
So, yeah, apparently somebody was taken away in an ambulance that one of the neighbours called, but none of us know anything about it. Nothing was said about it on site. We only found out about it months after, really, wasn't it? When it came.
Yeah, I feel like if we don't really know anything about it or who it was or what happened or anything, it's not a great deal of point discussing it until we have information or there isn't any information. So.
Yeah.
So basically, first aiders, I'm a first aider. I've done a first aid course, obviously. I've not used my first aid knowledge for over a year. By the time we get to MicroBurn, it will be getting on for 2 years. So, if something happened, I would step in and do what I can. But I've got to be honest, I'm personally not feeling like I've got the best skill set in that regard, just because I've done a course nearly 2 years ago. And I'm wondering if that's the case with myself. Is that the case with other first aiders? I know people put the names down because they've done a course, but are we really providing the best cover that we can?
Yeah, well, I'm technically, I've got an up-to-date first aid certificate, but I actually didn't put my name on the list last year because I didn't really feel competent to do that. So I don't think you're alone at all.
Yeah, so the only other alternative is whether we get some kind of medic on site for the weekend. Now, I don't know what it's going to cost. It might not be feasible due to the cost of it, but is it something we should look into and maybe get some quotes?
So we briefly talked about this last year, but I think we decided we didn't have the money. But I did get the contact of the guy who does first aid for Nest, who's a fully qualified paramedic and also very, knows the burning scene and everything else.
Friendly.
Yeah, he's very friendly. He's very lovely. Zeb, something like that. Zeb. I didn't get as far as getting a quote, but I'm happy to pass on his email address and whatever, or he might have ideas of other people. But yeah, it's not going to be cheap.
No.
What he did at Nest last year was to sort of he was the only paramedic, and he was kind of on call, but sort of slept. Which, it wasn't ideal, but for a small festival like MicroBurn, I think it'd be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Just to have one person, and because it's not like they're going to be busy. But yeah, it's still going to be hundreds of pounds.
Well, I think it could even be as much as 1,000.
We have that kind of money? I'm not sure.
I don't know. See, this is the thing. I don't know anything about what kind of budget we have, and also, is it worth it? If we know it's going to cost a lot of money, if we decide it's the way to go, then obviously we need to do the ticket prices accordingly. But it's just something I'm throwing out there, because if something happens and we are quite a distance from the nearest hospital, are we really doing the best we can with a bunch of people saying, I'll sign up as a first aider, when, have they really got the skill set and the experience if something goes wrong? Yeah,
that was exactly my concern last year. I think it was after the site visit, and we looked at where we had that document with how far away the hospitals were, and I was kind of like, this is going to take like half an hour to get to hospital, or at least, even if you have someone on site sober enough to drive them, and how long it would take to get an ambulance. But I've also got the budget. I can tell you how much a medic's not off the top of my head, but once I get on my computer, I can tell you how much the Medic's Finesse cost last year, because I've got last year's budget. So I don't think that was a week. I don't think that was more than £1,000. So I don't think,
Right.
or it might have been around £1,000. But I mean, I don't think it will be £1,000 for the weekend. But I might be wrong. Anyway, but yeah, the order of magnitude anyway.
Well, we're probably looking at what, 72 hours, Friday. I don't know. Say Friday lunchtime.
Well, we're starting on Thursday, technically.
To Monday lunchtime.
No, I'd say I agree with Michelle. I think if you're going to get medical cover, it should be all the way from Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Thursday is very low risk because people are just arriving on Thursday.
Yeah, I am really trying to mitigate, outweigh costs with
the more serious things.
A risk assessment, should we say? There's not going to be many people there on Thursday.
Should we find out how much it costs per day before making that judgment? Whether
I mean,
we're not really making a judgment now. We're just talking over it.
And it might be that there'll be a fixed cost of travel, and I don't know. It might not be proportionally more expensive to be another day. Do you know what I mean? So that'd be worth finding out the kind of what would it be for 3 days? What would it be for 4 days? Okay.
With regards to it, the only real issue that anyone has with it is the cost, right? I don't see any other problem with it, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, maybe we do, and maybe it's money well spent. £10 per person, really well, looked after for the weekend and safe.
Potentially, if you're splitting out food, if you just add on afterwards, then your ticket price. If your ticket price do take off food, but you add you might be able to it wouldn't look like such an increase, if you know what I mean, because if you've taken off food and then you add a little bit to help cover the medic costs.
Well, we're also going to have to cover the extra day because I think the site are going to charge for the extra day, aren't they? So it's going to have to go up a bit anyway.
Yeah. Plus, also, we're not buying a load of kitchen gear. I know you said that we do need to buy some, or we'd like to buy some, but we spent an awful lot of money on kitchen gear last year.
Yeah.
We won't be doing that this year. So maybe there is a bit more money in the budget.
Yeah, we spent a lot on infrastructure last year.
Yeah.
Because it was building the kitchen, so.
Anyway,
which we've now got in storage, right? We can reuse that infrastructure, so we haven't got to yet. Yeah.
So there might be money in the pot. It's worth looking into. So kitchen update we've done. Michelle's took us through that. So next one, setting deadlines and dates, DJ. With regard
so when me and Michelle met yesterday, kind of realized that there are some things that we should probably setting dates for as soon as possible because it kind of affects everything else. First one being everything to do with tickets, really, which is like when low-income application opens, when we release tickets for leads, if we're doing that early, when the main ticket releases, when the final cutoff for buying tickets is, and kind of a cutoff point possibly for when people can change the names on the tickets. I think it's probably a good idea to set a cutoff point for that, and after that, say if you can't come now, then too bad. We set this date a long time ago and we communicated it, because I think last year we couldn't really do that because we hadn't set that date and hadn't communicated it. So if we do that from the start this time, then we have legs to stand on to say you can't change it now and that's it. Does that make sense?
Yep, totally makes sense, and that should probably also be the cut-off point for food, I would suggest.
I think that needs to be a lot earlier. I think the cut-off point for food needs to be much earlier than, because that'll be in the last few days, will it not, DJ? Maybe a week or something. Is that the sort of timescale you're thinking?
Yeah, I think the food has to definitely be earlier because they have to order food, right? So
yeah, I think the food has to be much earlier.
Okay.
I mean, I
up to Ella to kind of know when her cut-off is for no numbers. So, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure you will totally stop people.
Oh no,
getting flu and giving their ticket to their friend. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, are we going to pretend we need ID and all that like Nest does, but they never actually enforce any of it?
Well, I don't want to say publicly on a video whether we will pretend or not.
Obviously we would. Yes,
very. The answer is no. No, we will not do that. We will not pretend.
No, sorry.
But
I forgot. Yeah.
But genuinely, I think we should really like be checking that a lot more strictly this year than we did last year. At least to get numbers correct, if not names.
Well, we should anyway, because with people opting in for food.
Yeah, but the opt-in for food, I assume we're going to have 2 wristbands, a general one and a food one. And, you know, you need to make sure when people arrive, they get the right things. Yeah, I think we need to, when we discussed this yesterday, but we're going to have to be a bit more careful on gate to make sure, you know, that everybody ticks up, everybody that comes in off the list, and everybody gets the right wristbands this year.
And signs the wrist register and...
No, they don't.
But also a thing about the names though and stuff is if we don't have a system for knowing who is on site, and then people get injured or a crime happens and we don't have any way of knowing who is on site because we've been lax about it, then that does fall on us, you know. So even though it is a bit of a joke that we don't check it, it's like we kind of should.
We do. Well, I mean, we don't check ID, admittedly, but we do speak to each person who comes in and we ask them who they are, and we do sign them off, and we do know the names and within reason contact details of people who are on site. So
we probably have a lot better idea of who is on site than a big festival does.
Of course we do, yeah.
Proportionally, we have a much better idea who's there.
Very true. So that's for tickets. So obviously, need to set those dates. I guess the best thing to do would be for me to, because I'll do ticketing this year. So maybe I just go away, suggest some dates, and put it in core leads, and then if anyone has any reasons why it should change, comment there. Does that make sense? Or maybe in ticketing and on site.
Yep, that's fine. I mean, I don't imagine anybody's, unless you come up with something totally weird, I don't imagine anybody's going to disagree with you. You could put it in. Has everyone seen my new spreadsheet?
Oh yeah,
the 2018 MicroBurn Master.
Oh. We lost it. We lost it.
Sorry. Right, hold on a second. Let me
I will put a link to the master spreadsheet in the minute.
That's what I'm trying to do, but I can't work this computer.
It's there. It's right at the top of the minutes. If anyone wants to go take a look.
All right. Okay. So there's only 3 pages on that at the moment. One of them is a timeline. So that's exactly, once you've decided on that info, DJ, if you can put it in there in the appropriate place, and then we all know what's coming next.
And then there was something else on dates that I put. Budget. So last year we had a bit of an issue in terms of like there were no set. Well, I think there was a date for budget deadline but then it wasn't really followed, and there wasn't a big follow up to the people who hadn't submitted budgets, and then it got closer and closer to the festival, and then so budget just became a bit of a thing. So I think if we have clear dates for when budgets need to come in, and then also I think we should have some period of discussion of budget before the final budget is decided, just so that people can comment if they feel that something, because in the end the money that is MicroBurn is everybody's money. It's not just like the lead's money, so everyone should be able to at least comment on it, and then a few people maybe be the final decision makers on it.
Yeah, we need to make sure between us that the money's being spent as best as possible, don't we? So yeah, and it's certainly worthy of a bit of scrutiny and a bit of discussion.
So last year I found it quite confusing in terms of if I had any money to spend or what it was, and I don't know if that was something which affected other people as well. But rather than it being for the leads to say how much they're going to spend, obviously we don't know what the total pot is, or what there's going to be certain fixed costs like ticketing fees, like venue costs, etc., and then there's going to be a certain amount left. So it would be good to at least have an estimate of, or based on last year's spending, and then an estimate, so that people know how much they
You've got to
suggested
work.
to have to spend. Yeah, and obviously then if they come, if the suggested amount is like a quarter of things that are absolutely necessary, then that's where the negotiation happens. But at least then it can be tweaked in other areas, and there's an overall budget. Because I don't know, I never saw an overall budget last year. Maybe there was one, I just never saw it. But I was never given an amount. Yeah, it was quite confusing, I found.
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah, I haven't seen anything either from last year of what we spent. I don't think it's ever worked that each department gets a budget. I think it's more you ask for what you need.
I know that's what I'm saying. I said, but I think it should be that you're given a budget. Like that would be.
But actually,
more sensible way around
think
doing
there might have actually been an amount that was estimated somewhere, but I'm pretty sure that was not communicated very well last year.
Yeah.
And I think there was like a form for requesting budget allocation, but yeah. So I think we definitely need to recruit someone to be very proactive with the finance stuff, because obviously Duncan's taking a step back. So and it's always good to have multiple people working on finance anyway. So I think we do really need to find someone who wants to take that on.
Well, I don't know if he's totally stepping back this year, but we could certainly have somebody else assist him on it for when he steps back next year, which is what he said he'd do. I think that's a good idea, but just to iterate that, I don't think he's going anywhere this year, though I haven't heard from him in a few weeks.
Was Anna not getting involved with the budget side of things as well, or with the finances rather?
I think she did want to, but I'm also not sure about her availability this year, because I think she and Haroon had stuff going on, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So I'm not volunteering to take on the role, but I'm happy to. I'm doing finance for Nest this year, and I'm kind of learnt a lot from Chris, who's done it the last couple of years as well. So I'm happy to kind of like give advice to anyone who's doing it, or not necessarily advice, but give input, smoother a better word, in terms of how it's done for Nest and whether that can be useful for us as well.
Yeah, that would be good.
I feel generally the way MicroBurn works is we are sometimes a bit more transparent, or we aim to be, than sometimes Nest is. So maybe we need to decide how transparent we want to be on budget, because DJ was talking yesterday about, everybody having a chance to input on budget decisions and how much we want to do that and how much we want to leave it to one or two people, and maybe we just need to talk about it generally, how we want to go ahead with it all.
Yeah, I'm all for it being completely open to and visible to everyone, and then there being some people where the buck stops and says, okay, a decision has to be made, so we're going to make the decision on this. But it's open to discussion to everyone.
Okay, so transparency, and we're going to look at maybe allocating budgets. I mean, we'll have some kind of idea of what kind of budgets are required, won't we, from previous years?
Yes.
So if we say, right, welfare's got X amount, kitchen's got X amount, can you work within that budget? Please try to come under. And we'll take it. Do we have a spreadsheet of all of what the spend was? Does Duncan have a spreadsheet of what the spend was from last year?
Yes.
Yeah,
different areas. Cool.
Yeah, I've seen it somewhere, so that it exists.
Yeah, so we need to work from that really and move on from that point, I think.
Yeah, maybe it's just a communication thing then. I mean, and obviously my area wasn't a big area of spending money anyway, but I think it was a bit common across other areas as well.
Well, one of the problems regarding the budget was people were coming in fairly last minute, I think, and telling Duncan what they required. But again, if we say from the get-go, this is the budget you have to work to, do your very best to make it work, then, we're not waiting on them to come back to us. We've already told them this is what we've got to work to. So it should alleviate that problem. We should also have a cut-off point, which should be ideally 6 weeks out, we review everything, and then probably 3 weeks out, say, right, this is it now. This is the money, so that's that. Yeah, but you need to have a high-level budget before you do your ticket pricing, because otherwise you don't know what to set your ticket prices at.
Yeah. So what we'd do is you'd have the budget that we estimate to get the ticket pricing and everything, and then at that point there should be an amount that's dedicated to each area, and then so let's say 6 weeks out we have the budget submission deadline. So then people submit the budgets they want to have, and then whoever's doing finance looks at all of that, and if they see that, okay, like art has seriously underspent and infrastructure needs more money, then they say, okay, infrastructure, you can have more money here, and put that in the budget, and then everyone can look at that over the next 2-3 weeks, comment if they disagree, and then 3 weeks out from the festival, the budget's locked in, and people get the money to buy the things they need to buy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
That makes sense. Again, we'll need to communicate that to everyone because some people are more organized than others. So, yeah. But that sounds like a good plan.
Yep, sounds like a plan.
Hey guys, can I just add? I've been away for a bit, but I've been reading the document, the legal entity document, and I just have a few questions. So obviously, this is a company that's limited by its guarantee now. From what I've studied, I've studied limited by shares, but I can easily look into the limited by guarantee part. It's not that hard. Do we have a registered office?
No, all these things. What we're doing, we're having a meeting about this in 2 weeks, Andre. So.
All right. Okay. Well.
So the idea of the document was for people to read and then get some questions and ideas, and then we discuss it all. So it's a separate to this in a couple of weeks.
All right. Perfect. Yeah. Well, no, it's just because I started reading.
If you want to contact me outside of this,
yeah,
we can have a chat about it in preparation for this.
We will.
2 weeks.
All right, perfect. Yeah, cool. Sounds good. We'll definitely have a chat about it later.
Yeah, because you'll know more than me. This is just what I've researched on the internet and spent some time looking into. So,
yeah.
Yeah, any input?
We definitely can't discuss this in public. But yeah, I have some questions, so we'll chat about this later.
Excellent. Cheers. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Good.
Okay. Okay.
So discussing ticket system, DJ, you've kind of gone over that, and we've got to decide.
Oh no, so ticketing system. So last year Lexi said that she had a contact with a ticketing system that I can't remember the name of now, and we'd look into it this year because it could be a better system than Ticketailor. It definitely is a better system than Ticketailor.
Yes, I did. I will dig that out and send it to you, DJ. I don't remember the details.
So it's just talking about possibly using that system so that we can do a lot of the things more easily.
The other point of reference I have is that Nest use Quicket. I don't know if you reviewed Quicket before, but they seem to have pretty good functionality and reasonable costs. But yeah, so I'll find the details for you, and then I'll give you a quick summary of Quicket as well, because I've been looking at that recently too.
Thank you.
Michelle, can you hear us now?
Yeah. It was just about a minute. We're fine now.
Cool. Okay. So Laura's not on tonight, but the fundraiser is April 21st now. There's an event page going up. DJ is.
Oh, poor Lexi can't make it.
Oh.
Yeah, Lexi planned her flight to San Francisco around it being the other weekend, which is what it was when it originally planned to be, but I knew it wasn't definite, so I'll be in California. Oh, shucks.
Flights, you can't miss this.
I'll see what I can do.
It's rubbish. I've heard it's terrible. Come to Liverpool instead.
I'll be in San Francisco next week anyway, so I'll stop showing up now.
And there's a site visit 13th of May. Laura needs someone to hand the role over to liaise with Fran.
Sorry, can you say that again, John?
There's a site visit on the 13th of May,
Yeah.
and Laura needs someone to hand the role over to do the liaison with Fran.
Oh, okay.
So
we're looking for somebody who already knows Fran, or Fran knows.
I actually think Nathan will probably be the best person for that because he actually has a relationship with her. If he's willing to do it.
Do you think
so? That role will include things like negotiating the venue costs and the structure and so on. Is that something which you think Nathan would want to do? And
I'm not so sure because
suitable for?
No disrespect to Nathan, but he's not involved in this and the meetings as much as some of us are.
Yeah, I think it has to be somebody who knows the event inside out, really.
Yeah.
And has all Laura's tact and diplomacy. So I don't have any suggestions, really.
I mean, I'm happy to do it if.
I think you'd be a good choice, actually, John. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I mean, I've spoken to her a few times the last time we've been, and I've been on the site visits previously in previous years. Yeah, so foolishly, I'll put myself forward for that one.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Do you want to get in touch with Laura then? And
are you able to go to the next site visit, John? Oh, sorry, DJ, you were saying?
13th of May. Yes, I will be now.
I wasn't aware of this site visit, I don't think.
I wasn't aware of it either.
Now, actually looking at the agenda.
We've got Wales in there. Yeah.
Bizarrely, we might be in Wales anyway that weekend. But that aside, who is invited on the site visit? Is it?
It's the first time I've seen this, to be honest. It's the first time hearing of it myself.
Oh right, okay.
So
I think we had an open invite last time, didn't we? I mean, it ended up only being leads.
Oh yeah.
Or was it just? Yeah, which I think is the right way to do it. I mean, the chances of other people coming is slim, but it depends on, like, if someone wants to do an art project and they really want to see the site, for example, or there's other reasons that people might want to see the site. Oh, they're just happy to come along and.
It's worth having people there to see it, and so that they can comment. If John's not around and someone needs to know something about the site, then it's worth having other people who have seen it.
Yeah. The more people, the merrier, to be honest. The last few site visits, there's always been at least 4 of us there. So, it's not Brand doesn't, the people there, they don't mind a ruck of us turning up and
there's about 8 of us or so last time.
Did you?
There was 4 of us that said. The 4 of us did, and we slept in the yurts, but that was kind of informal. It was only because the yurts weren't booked out, and they said you can stay in the yurts. So if they'd been booked, then we wouldn't have done, and we would have. I think we brought tents to camp. I think she said you can camp for free, or there's local places to stay as well.
Yeah.
Obviously from London, all the Liverpool lot just went back to Liverpool after going to the pub for a drink, but it was obviously a bit further for us from London.
Yeah. Is it on the Saturday or the Sunday? Because I think the 13th is a Sunday. It is a Sunday.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, this, like I say, it's the first time I know of it.
Okay.
If we'll have to look into it. If it turns out the 13th is no good for people that need to go, then we'll just arrange something else. So we'll just play that one by ear. Right, so actions before next meeting. So what actions have we got? Lexi, if you could find out about this medic person that you know, that would be great. And also pass on information to DJ about ticketing.
Yeah, I'll do.
Who else had an action? I can't remember.
Hopefully,
I can go through them.
Hopefully they're in the notes.
I can go through the minutes. Are there any actions immediately for lead roles recruitment? Because all I wrote was like what has been filled, but what about
recruitment? I need to continue speaking to Ella, and I'm going to recruit some comms people, but I don't think there's anything else urgent. I think I'll probably do what I did last year and just quietly in the background cajole people into roles. And it all worked out eventually. So, yeah, that's sort of ongoing.
Finance, maybe. We've identified we probably need some more people involved with the finance and budgeting.
Yeah. Okay. Does somebody want to speak with Duncan to make sure he's fine with that? He just doesn't seem to respond to my messages.
I mean, he doesn't respond to mine either. I think he has a lot going on with his family, so he's kind of on and off with communication. Okay.
Well, shall I try and communicate with him about this, because it might be to his benefit to have somebody sort of helping him out. And
I'll send him a message as well.
Okay.
It might be difficult for someone to shadow him if he doesn't generally respond much, but anyway, we'll see if it works out.
But yeah, maybe when he does respond, he can just send a whole lot of information they can deal with.
Okay.
Legal status. So there's a meeting on the 19th. So anyone who wants to come to the meeting needs to read the document. Sorry,
I'll send round links to everybody's documents before that, because there's a few documents that are relevant.
Okay.
That's perfect. I'm gonna take a good read at it, and I'm gonna do some research on it myself as well, and I'll write some notes.
That would be brilliant. If you can bring your expertise to this, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
We are talking the 19th of February, aren't we? It's always best to be specific.
So sorry, just a second. My internet is my internet is really not helping me here. Can you repeat that? Sorry, Michelle.
I was simply saying that if you can bring your expertise to this issue, that would be brilliant. That was all.
Yeah, sure. Even though I'm still like a postgraduate student, but I do know a fair amount of knowledge on these kind of things. So I'll definitely be more ready next time.
Yeah, no, you'll be way ahead of most of us. So yeah, no, it's great that you're involved in that.
All right. Yeah, the questions I'm gonna ask you, John, later on, and then just to clarify in which direction we're gonna take this, to know what purpose is it for exactly. But yeah, anyways, that's me done. Oh, and regarding the 13th of May, I'm not too sure if I can make it for the site visits.
No problem.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, well, I'll message you, Andre, outside of this, and we'll maybe speak tomorrow.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
Till then.
I'll send you my phone number and we can have a chat.
Till then, baby hen.
Okay, baby.
Moving on, John, to look up first aider quotes. Yes?
Yeah, well, Lexi's going to help send me some information, and then I'll start looking into stuff, yeah.
And then we've got, what have we got? Blah, blah, blah. Setting deadlines. I'll put in deadlines into the timeline for ticketing and budget. Sorry, actions as I speak them. Ticketing system, Lexi to pass on information about ticketing system, and DJ to decide on the ticketing.
We also, I know we mentioned this last night when I was meeting with DJ. It seems like 3 months off yet, and it is, but the first thing we need to get together is the low income ticketing decision team. So maybe, John, you volunteered for this last time. Maybe we need to just start thinking.
For the lead, yeah. So over the next few days, probably over the next week, I'm going to review everything we've got in relation to that, and then I'm going to put a shout out and get a team together. And yeah, I'll be on it within the next week or so.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Fantastic.
Are you writing the low income Bible?
It's written.
It's written. Brilliant.
There is one.
John, if you have questions, I was helping Rachel a lot with the low income tickets last year, so I know where all the documents are and everything if you need them.
Excellent.
So that's that, and then fundraiser. I guess that was just an update. We don't have actions, and then site visit. John will talk to Laura about what needs doing with liaising with Fran. Cool, and that's everything.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Right. Okay. So that's that then. Time out.
Excellent.
Lovely.
How are you doing, Johnny? How are you feeling these days?
I'm surviving.
Yeah.
You're all right.
Are you walking?
Go to bed.
I like
Yeah.
the beard.
It's looking good.
Yeah. It's kind of gingery with some white bits.
With a hint of werewolf.
Yeah, definitely.
Andrew, are you like doing a 360? What are you doing? You like, where are you?
I'm
In a
like an old
station
wolf.
somewhere. An old wolf.
But yeah, I couldn't stand.
You're a young puppy.
Day for about a week and a half because I couldn't stand up. So, and I just thought, you know what, I'll leave it a bit and see what happens.
I like it.
But yeah, I'm good. Doing all right.
Well, good to see you, guys. Take care.
Speak soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Much love. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Yeah.